What is up, all my listeners out there? Thank you for tuning in to the Music Producer's Treasure Box. This is your host, FERMI here, and today I've got an amazing guest joining us on this interview. His name is Keynan, and man, he dropped some gems during this interview. I originally reached out to Keynan because, not only does he have amazing music, you just heard a little bit of it in my intro, that really touches you, cools you out, and lets you just vibe out. But he also recently dropped some interesting knowledge on his social media account. And, I knew that it would be made for an amazing discussion today about mindfulness and really tuning into yourself so that you know what is important to you and you stay on track. That is something that I extra want to underscore. Listen closely as me and Keynan talk later in the interview. But one thing that I've noticed, I've been doing a lot of Instagram for myself and for a few clients that I work with. And you know what? You've got to make sure that you are staying true to yourself, your authentic vision, your mission and values, so that you are not just making music and making content for the likes, but you're honestly doing what you love and helping others by adding value. So, make the music that you want to make. If you're a musician, make the music you want to make. And man, the right audience will come to you. Whether that is 5 people who love what you do or 50 people who love what you do, it doesn't matter as long as they authentically are touched by your tunes and they want to hear more. That is how you build a real audience. It doesn't matter if you get 100, 500, 600, 1,000 likes from robots or basically robots, people who honestly don't care what you're doing. And we're just there for a brief second to hit that like button. You want subscribers, you want true fans and people who are honestly touched and who feel like your music or your content is adding value to their life and that they can get down with you and, you just really represent and resonate with them. All right, all my artists, thank you guys for tuning into the Music Producer's Treasure Box week over week. And, I know we're already halfway through January, but seriously, I hope y'all are having an amazing new year and that you are staying focused on the commitments you made, right? One thing that can help you stay focused is a vision board. I've been referring to mine frequently so that I stay on track. And I think it really also lines up with what Keynan and I spoke about in this upcoming interview in terms of making sure that you stay focused on what you love to do and not persuade noise out there, whether that's on social media or, the offline media or really just day to day with family and friends. Be you, be authentic. Let's get into this interview. Let's go. Welcome to the show, my man Keynan. Welcome in, and I look forward to talking to you so much.
Well, thank you, man. Same here.
So look, I was explaining to you just before we hit record, I was looking for different artists on Instagram. My man Dogma Beats on a previous episode shouted out Sarah Too Ill. Quick plug, we're trying to get her on the show if she doesn't mind. But
awesome.
What I saw is that she was doing some merch, and I think you got a shout out on her page, and I really loved what I heard. So I reached out and I said, man, I got to get you onto the show. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I think that's crazy how that works. Just posting that, not even knowing, the doors that it opens for you down the road. That's why I think that the internet is so useful now, because, once you post it, it's there forever.
Totally. I mean, it makes the world a smaller place, right? I think if you're really paying attention, you can see who is a real person out there who wants to get heard, who wants to get featured. And, that's what I've been doing a lot on the show, honestly. Some of the artists that have come on the show are people that I've run into in person or that, I just know from way back when. Some of the folks I've heard on other podcasts or on social media. So, we're continuing that trend with you.
Yeah, it for sure does narrow down the world in a way, because being or trying to connect with people in real life, is probably the best bet. But, having an Instagram where you're a producer connects you with, it narrows down the rest of the world into people that have similar interests with you. And so it's so convenient, and it can be such a blessing and a curse at the same time,
100%. Real quick, how did you kind of get a shout out from Sarah Too Ill? What was that whole story about? I know it has something to do with the merch, right?
Yeah, she was doing a giveaway to promote one of her songs or a post back in the day. I forget exactly what it was. And one of my friends, he now goes by Orchid Bay, but he was Lo-Fi Hokage. He's an OG, and he actually tagged me in the post, and she was like, tag 2 of your friends and, you know, follow this account, and the winner will get this. And so we actually ended up winning, and we got to pick something from her store. Nice. And I posted a video of me wearing her merch, and made a little beat, you know, back when I was first making beats, and she featured me in Artist of the Day. And so that's how I got on her page.
That's dope. That's really creative from a couple of different angles, right? Like Sarah's doing this giveaway, creating buzz, getting everybody to tag their friends, and you guys are tagging each other, actually win, and you spun it off into doing a video with the merch, just a quick little thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's how a connection was made between us, and I'm sure a lot of other people as well got to hear your music, got to following you, and all of that.
For sure, man. And I've even heard of Dogma Beats, you know, which is funny how me and you didn't know each other, but we knew similar artists. So
it's that 7 degrees of separation thing, except this time it was 1 degree.
Yeah. I never heard about that, but
yeah, man. Supposedly you know everybody in the world. 7 people in between you, though. So like if you just continue that, grow that network, if you meet this person, they know probably the next person who knows the person you really want to reach, or they could be a game changer for you, you know? We're all connected. But you know, speaking of social media, just to switch it up a little bit, one thing that I already told you I wanted to dig into is tell me about this social media break or this social media fast that you're doing. I mean, in the process of connecting to do this interview, just for a little backstory for everybody, you were like, hey, man, we're on Instagram, right? And you're like, hey, man, in the future, just text me direct because I'm not going to be on social media in January.
And that's an awesome question, man. I could spend hours answering it, so you have to forgive me. I'm going to be stumbling a little bit here trying to articulate it the best way that I can. But so last year I kind of had a realization. I started off, you know, producing about, and this all ties into each other, but I started off producing about a year and, well, almost 2 years ago in March. So I've always played piano, and I've always kind of messed around with the guitar, and I played clarinet and bass clarinet in a couple of different orchestras and with the school band and things like that. And so I've always been around music, but I just started producing because of some life situations that were going on, and I ended up really liking it, you know, really going for it. So I began, you know, which I was scared to do at first, I began posting my videos on Instagram. At first I was scared to start posting because just of what other people thought of me, you know, being the guy that makes music, that's promoting his music. There's a little hurdle, you know, trying to get over that at first. Trying to put yourself out there, I guess. It's a vulnerable spot, especially when you're first starting out. So after doing that, man, like I just went hard on Instagram, and it started paying off for me. You know, I gained like 800, 900 followers, and, you know, got people listening to my music. I got some songs that got a pretty good bit of plays just off of me marketing myself on social media. And I guess not really marketing myself completely, but just putting myself out there. But eventually, you know, it started to kind of flip on me, and I was approaching my artistry and my life and the way that I made music through social media. And, you know, instead of focusing on followers all the time, which was absolutely draining, is focusing on how many people are following you, how many people are liking this. You know, I guess it may be important sometimes, but I had to drop it just because I was like, you know, like I want to live my life. I want to make good music. I don't want to, you know, make good Instagram videos for people to like. And it just started, you know, affecting me negatively. And so I took about a 6-month break. And then that's exactly what I'm doing again this year. I've kind of noticed how it's creeped back up in my life and been manipulating my actions and who I am day to day, you know, because when you get too caught up in social media, you can start living your life through it instead of letting it be a reflection of your life. I feel like, and living your life through social media is just a numbers game and a popularity game, I feel like. And you start living differently when you're thinking like that. You know, it can go deep as far as, you know, that's just what humans do when they have that much access to a different amount of people and a different amount of information and all that, you know, all that stuff that comes in on that phone, on the social media. can just be manipulating. And so I was like, I've kind of noticed how it's creeped back up in my life, and it's been causing me a little bit of anxiety and stress. So I thought, instead of trying to continue to make content, I was going to kind of come back inwards and focus on myself and the quality of my music and how much fun I'm having making music and things of that nature.
I love that, man. I think that's a really key thing to call out. On my show and just all around the internet, all around the world, people are looking at social media as an amazing way to get exposure for their art, for their music, for themselves, whatever it is that they do. But the way that you just verbalize that, of making sure that you're still looking at your life through the lens of like overall life, not through the lens of social media, that's important, right? I mean, I think that I've chatted with some musical artists, some producers who have actually told me like, man, it's exhausting. Like I'm not doing too great right now. Like I'm thinking about making my music about what would get the most likes rather than just making my music because it's what fulfills me. It's what is fun for me. Yeah. So I think as important as it is to like get your brand out there, promote your music, grow your audience, right? There's also that flip side of the coin, man. So I love that. So you're going to do 6 months, 6 months, no social, or you just going to kind of play it by ear?
Yeah, man, I'm just playing it by ear. Like I don't want to say 6 months and then, have that. Because if I say 6 months, then I'll give it out a month. But if I say it doesn't matter, then I'll go 6 months. It's just that kind of mind thing. Just whatever comes back into play, I'll know.
Totally. I mean, and I don't know about you, but a good mentor of mine, he actually told me, just remember that you are a producer and not a consumer.
Nice, yeah.
Maybe we're all consumers on some level, but in terms of just getting content out there, as a musician or as a marketer or whatever you are, your point is to produce the content. And when you are consuming content, it's more of like research, not getting like carried away with just scrolling through Instagram feeds for hours,
Yeah, for sure.
That's something for me to even check myself on sometimes. So I just wanted to share that with our audience and all the listeners as well. Specifically for me, I don't feel it as much on social media, but I feel it in my email inbox. Because I'll be subscribing to tons of different things so I can kind of understand what's happening in different marketplaces. And then next thing I know, I get like 200 emails if I don't check it every few hours, So I'm like, oh, dang. Okay, let's go ahead and unsubscribe and remember that I'm a producer, not just a consumer.
Yeah, there you go. There's always a really fine line, or you got to keep a really good balance between the two. Because if you produce too much, then you have nothing left to give, But if you consume too much, then, it'll make you explode, man. You have too much you have too much information. So a good balance is definitely needed, I feel like.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your actual music and your content, right? Your production style. You shot me over a couple of tracks, and one that we wanted to talk about was Let Them Chirp. So, talk to me a little bit about that song and just about how it fits into your overall style as a musician.
I'm always using Rhodes pianos, so that's a big reason why that one fits into my style. But Let Them Chirp was just like one of those beats. It's so simple with a melody. It's just a loop. It's just a 2-minute loop with a really nice drum beat and a really good atmosphere. I mean, it's just something that, I will sit here for hours and come up with 2 chords that I don't like. But that one came together so quick, and, it's such a good little beat. So that's why I kind of wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that one, is because sometimes you don't need to be a mathematician or you don't have to worry about making music so much. You just got to make it.
Cool. Let's jump into this track real quick. Let's check it out. This is unreleased. It's coming out soon, though, I think. Let Them Chirp. Let's go. Is this really coming out soon? I just said that, but I don't know.
that song is on SoundCloud and it'll stay on SoundCloud. So it's just,
Okay.
SoundCloud and YouTube.
Cool. So it's out right now. People can go listen to it. It's out on SoundCloud and YouTube. And so I was 100% right. Like when I first heard it, I was like, okay, we got some Rhodes piano. So is that a go-to instrument for you? And are you using VSTs for that? Or do you literally have like a collection with old school Rhodes or something?
Oh man, I wish I had an old school Rhodes. I just kick it with Lounge Lizard in here.
Okay.
It's like my go-to VST for electric pianos, which if I'm not using an electric piano, then I'm using just a grand piano VST. But the Rhodes and the E-pianos are I just love them. Like, I don't know how else to say it.
Sound.
Yeah, man. I love the thickness. I love the warmth. I love the color. I love the chill vibes. It's just, who I am. It's what I like to express is that kind of Rhodes atmosphere,
Totally. How did you get into that sound? Is this just something that you naturally gravitated towards, or has this been something over time that you found is just really fitting for your whole persona?
I'm sure that it has. Like, I'm sure that it's built up over a long time, but as I started making music, it just naturally filtered through, and I was like, okay, this is what I like. And so it kind of changed, making music changed what kind of music I listened to. And then I started listening to a lot of producers that work with chill hop. And I just fell in love with that kind of chill hop vibe, that jazz, hip hop, kind of down tempo, organic noises, stuff that you can find in your kitchen. And it all revolves around, just a hard beat. It's, perfect to me.
So what are some artists, or who are some artists rather, that you really look up to and then maybe you found through your explorations with sound?
I say the main one right now is, there's tons of them. Sandport.
Okay.
I believe that's how you say it, Sandport. And there's another guy that works for Chill Hop named ASO. Pretty much all the chill hop artists have influenced me. I started making off beats for rappers. Like, I was trying to make trap beats and stuff because that's what I was listening to at the time.
Really?
Yeah. Funny enough.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. That's just why I started making beats. I was like, man, I can produce some beats for some rappers, and that'd be fun because I'm good at music. I love music, and I know what good music sounds like. So I was just, it's just something that's always come natural to me, even playing piano when I was a kid and stuff. And so I started doing that, and then I started getting tired of waiting around on artists to hit me back up for beats. And I didn't like my beats feeling like incomplete. I was done with them. Like, okay, now I have another one in the vault. Like, I want to present it to the world. And so I kind of got into lo-fi hip hop at the time too. Like, a year beforehand, when I was in college and I was doing, some studying and stuff, I found it. And I was like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so I was like, okay, I'll try to make that. But I don't like sampling, so I don't like sampling most of my stuff. Like, I'll use sampled drums, like one hits and sounds and stuff, but I just don't like sampling any kind of melody or chord progression because it just, it's not satisfying to me. Because some people can sample and make it their own, but me, I'd rather just create it. It's just how I do it. But no hate or anything. So I started messing around with chords and getting back into piano, and that's how it kind of led me to the chill hop vibe. Oh. And I like it much better, man. It's a lot less stress, and it's a lot less to worry about. I can just make what I want to make.
Well, I'm really surprised. And that was actually one thing that I was thinking about listening to your music. It's like, okay, you've got a really consistent sound with the chill hop. I wouldn't even call it quite lo-fi, maybe a little bit of those elements, but definitely like a jazzy hip hop sound. And I was just going to jokingly ask you, like, dude, what's up? Where's the trap, man? Where's the hi-hats, 16th notes, 32nd notes?
Yeah.
Like, where's that at, bro? That's like the current sound, bro. Come on.
I know, man. I know. And it's tempting. Trust me. It's tempting, but I'll start doing it, and because sometimes when I'm in that mood, I do want to make something harder.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, I'll end up cutting the tempo in half and like putting a different snare in and making it slow, taking the hats out. So it's just, which is my preference.
It's cool. Yeah, man. I mean, it definitely gave me like a chill and brought my energy down to a good place, right? As I was telling you
Oh, good.
pre-interview, I just moved down to Los Angeles. I'm originally 16 years up in San Francisco. So,
Yeah.
down in San Francisco, I was able to ride my bike around town. I would be able to get places real quick. And that would just be a sort of release for me, right? But
Yeah.
down here in Los Angeles, go ahead and chain that bike down to the basement down here. I'm not going to be using it and
Yeah.
jump in the
Dang.
car, right? So if I
Yeah.
pop on some traps, some ASAP Ferg or something, guess what? I'm gonna liable to get road rage much quicker, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
I,
yeah. He was flicking people off.
exactly. I've been finding myself, sometimes I need, a harder beat or something or a harder track just to amp my energy up in the mornings or something, but or before the gym, right? But
Yeah.
a lot of times I'll find myself listening to like classical music, and it was just
Oh wow.
really an amazing change coming down here and turning on, KUSC, the University of Southern California Classical Channel, and just
Yeah.
really paying attention to myself mentally, and realizing that just brought so much stress relief to me to listen to classical. And
Yeah.
when I turned on your beats, it was actually a similar feel, right? So I was just kind of
Oh,
like,
thank
all
you.
right, man, this is something that can kind of bring the tensions down. And I think made me realize how important it is to think about how organized your workspace is, how organized your car is, what kind of sounds you're letting into your environment, and how critical that is, man.
Oh yeah, man. That's something that is easily looked over too.
Totally.
Is that kind of stuff, like the little stuff, your environment. Uh, like I look over things all the time that I could probably make better, here and there as far as what I'm taking in, filter more things out, but also, adding new things to your environment, making sure that you're um, adding enough change to it.
Well, tell me this. So you mentioned you don't sample often. And I was listening,
Yeah.
like I said, to some of your tracks. So I was just streaming off of Spotify on the road. And some of them I thought sounded like some samples, maybe some jazz guitars and stuff like that. I could be wrong. It sounds like you're a multi-instrumentalist. Are you playing these guitar samples that I heard, or are they synths? What's
Yeah.
going on?
Well, it depends on which ones that you heard.
I'm not too sure off top.
Yeah, I'd have to tell you. Maybe like if you asked me this song, I could tell you, but I'm not sure because it's been a while. And and that's why I was kind of slow to speak about sampling because I will sample, here and there. I guess I'm just more picky with it as far as like most guitar that you probably heard on Spotify is going to be like a VST guitar that I just play on keys because I'm a natural key player, and so it just translates well over. Like I could control it more. But like if I hear a guitar sound that I like, and usually one shots that I can manipulate just because they fit well. Chord progressions and the keys and the guitar are usually all mine.
So do you say you use Fruity Loop?
No, I actually use Ableton.
Oh, got it. What do you think is, the best DAW out there? I know a lot of our listeners have their opinions.
Uh, I gotta go with Ableton, but that opinion doesn't really mean much because I haven't used anything else besides like Fruity Loops for a month. But Ableton is just, from my point of view, so versatile. What do you use?
I use Logic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
on a Mac.
on a Mac. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Logic actually just came to PC. I'm not sure. But have you ever used Ableton, or is Logic, your all-time favorite?
No, I've used Ableton before a little bit here and there, just dabbled in it. It was an
Yeah.
older version, so I'm sure there's been different improvements. I think the one thing that I can give Ableton over Logic, I like my workflow in Logic, but if I was going to like perform live on, Logic, that's not even possible, right? So Ableton kind of has that loops feature. What do they call them? Sessions? I don't know what they call them. But you know what I'm talking about. In each track, you can like trigger different things. So that's kind of one thing that sometimes makes me say, maybe I should like investigate Ableton a little more.
Yeah. And like Ableton might be the absolute worst DAW. I just wouldn't know because it's what I started out on, and that's what I use. I'm comfortable with it. And I mean, like, honestly, when it comes to producing, I don't know too much about the technical side. I just like to put, sounds together. I don't know if I consider myself really like a producer. Producing is something that I do, but it's more of like, I just like creating, to be honest with you, and Ableton provides a great platform to create.
Nice. I love that. Cool, man. Well, speaking of all this, I want to feature one more of your tracks. Whether you're a producer or not, we like what we hear here. And a track that I personally like that you sent over was this track, Steve Ernell. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And also, who the heck is Steve Ernell?
I can't believe I'm about to go into this, but Steve Ernell, and that's just that classic, like, start a project and you name it after the first thing that's on your mind.
Oh yeah.
And apparently I got Steve on my mind because I got a track named Steve Ernell, and he's just a host on this Netflix show. He hunts. It's called Meat Eater. And it's a really good show to just sit back and watch sometimes when you don't want to do anything else, when you're tired of working or whatever. And so I just threw it on, and I was watching it one night, and then I was like, man, I want to make a beat. And I was making a beat while I was watching it. And I just put it together and named it Steve Ernell. And then, but that track actually, I really like that track because it's, like, I started to change things up in it. I'm usually one for one steady drum beat, the whole song, or one steady, I guess, rhythm, the whole song, of course, with variations and stuff and things like that. But with Steve Ernell, I kind of took it and broke it down and then rebuilt the beat in a different way, which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, man, I definitely know what it's like, and I'm sure all my listeners out there can associate with just naming a track something so random. I know I've had tracks that I've named something, and then later on I don't even know how to find it because the name makes no sense to the way that the song is.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful, man.
Definitely. Well, let's roll into this track, Steve Ernell. Let's check it out. All right. We checked out the track. Gotta love that one. Who would have known a meat eater would have inspired a track like that?
I know, right?
I mean,
it's crazy.
Speaking of which, are you vegan? Are you a meat eater? Are you just, eating anything goes?
I actually take a lot of pride in my eating habits. I'm big into health and to eating the right things for me and making sure that I have the right kind of fuel to, my main goal is to be the strongest version of myself. So
nice.
I can really work on that with what I intake physically as far as food, media, my environment, exercise, stress, light, drink, like all the things that we're all taking in day to day, that's how I kind of approach becoming the strongest and most authentic version of myself. So when it comes to eating, I like to eat clean organic foods like vegetables, fruits, and meats. Of course, being careful where I get the meat, because that can be controversial nowadays. And there's a lot of bad stuff that is in commercial raised animal meat, and so I try to stay away from that the best I can without overstressing.
How did that work? Because I know you were from San Diego. So in terms of what you're saying, I'm like, okay, that's very Californian. I can see you successfully being able to do that on the regular. But I know you're in Georgia for a while, and I don't know if there was any challenges. I have no clue what city you're in or anything. But, what was that whole dynamic like?
It's not too much different, I guess. The only difference would be I have a lot of family out in Georgia, so that creates a lot of influence and habits that wouldn't be there otherwise. And that's part of the reason why I kind of moved out here, was to establish my own ideas and stuff. So I guess, like it's the same, like eating habits. Uh, a good eating habit is both readily available in Georgia and San Diego, but I have definitely developed mine a lot better living out here by myself.
You kind of get dragged into what the family's doing, and even the friends, man. It's important who you surround yourself with, and how you really are thinking about things. And I got to tell you,
100%.
I know a couple of musicians who, once I've actually known some producers who become very successful, and they're working on a lot of projects. They're mixing a lot, they're doing mastering or whatever, and they're putting in a lot of hours and not thinking about that balance and that health, right? So they're not necessarily getting the exercise they used to, or maybe they never really had that routine, or just eating kind of whatever, So, man, all those producers listening out there, definitely, no matter what happens, I hope and I wish that you are successful, but don't get too busy to stay balanced and keep that health, whether it's from what you eat or how you move, in mind.
Yeah, man. One more thing on that, something that I like to say that I feel like is a good perspective for recentering yourself. Like it's really easy to get lost inside of something, or lost inside your hobby or your passion or your career pursuit or whatever it be. It's so easy to, get lost in it. So I think it's important to approach these things from a state of groundedness and clearness and being centered with yourself, and realizing that what you eat and what kind of exercise that you're doing is also contributing to what kind of music you're making, or what kind of connections you're developing with people. So everything that you do is an extension of you. It's easy to get caught up in making music and kind of making that who you are, but like it's good to take a step back and stay well balanced. So when you do approach music, it's reflecting a very very particular part of you, part of you that you like to present to the world.
Yeah, man. And I think that's one reason I reached out to you. I was mentioning before we started recording that you had just done some rants and things on your Instagram in addition to the music, and talked about, making sure that you're enjoying the moment, you're enjoying each day, and that it's not always about achieving that next goal. Goals are important, right? But
Sure.
your habits and keeping balance and just really being happy in the moment as well. Working on your craft or working on whatever it is that is a value to you, that's where it's at.
For sure, bro. Because when you approach something like music, in the present moment, as cliche as that sounds, when you approach music by just doing it, rather than kind of being driven by something exterior like a career or a deadline. When you just take the time out to actually create and not have any kind of labels or timestamps on it, is when you really, make the purest stuff. So, deadlines and goals are awesome, but making music, for a deadline or for a goal is not what we're doing here. We're making music to make music.
Yo, man. So where can my listeners find out more information about you and, figure out what song they like best from you? Where's the best place to find out more?
I would just say SoundCloud. I'm on YouTube and Instagram and Spotify and Apple Music. But if you want the rawest of the raw bedroom beats, then head over to SoundCloud, because I post like everything on there.
Dope. What is the difference between the stuff on your SoundCloud though and the stuff on your Spotify, for instance?
The stuff on my SoundCloud is stuff that would never, I think, be officially released by me. Something that I'd want to, put on streaming platforms. And that's another like sticky topic with me right now, because when I start thinking about streaming platforms like Spotify and iTunes, again, like I'll start having some anxiety. The track has to be perfect. Can I get plays on it? Can I make money off of it? And that's just what pops up in my mind when I think about putting something on Spotify. So just like social media, I see it manipulating my decisions about, being who I want to be. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hold off on that for a while. So I'll just make a beat, and instead of trying to make it this big thing, where I release it and everybody go listen to it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it. And I don't care if nobody listens to it. I want to make it the best that I can for me and then post it on a platform that I feel like is more intimate than Spotify. You know,
I love that.
SoundCloud is a place where you connect with genuine people. Like, for instance, I dropped social media again 5 days ago. And I'm not saying that this has anything to do with each other, but just an example. Like, I dropped social media 5 days ago and I connected with a really dope vocalist on SoundCloud a couple days ago. You know, just messaging people on SoundCloud is what I do. So a good technique on SoundCloud would be to search up artists that you think are similar to your vibe and go to their followers and message their followers personally and be like, hey, would you mind giving this a listen?
Nice.
And let me know what you think. And, you know, you can do it spammy, you can do it personal, but so that's how I'll market like some music on SoundCloud. And then, you know, people will start liking it. People will send you messages back. And I did this to one girl and she had, you know, like 89 followers and was following like 200 people. Just, you know, like, I'm not sure if that's it, but just like an example of like the ratio that people normally look at. And I went and clicked on her music because she said that she was digging my stuff. And I went and clicked on it and I was like, oh my God, like, this is awesome. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, how does she do this out of her bedroom? And so I messaged her and, you know, well, we're planning on working on something now. You know, maybe if I can figure out how to work with a vocalist, because that's new for me. But yeah, but just an example of how I think SoundCloud is the way to go, especially if you haven't been producing for too long.
Nice, man. Well, I don't think a lot of artists have really talked too much about SoundCloud on the show. So for all my listeners out there, I love the tactic that you shared too, of just kind of hacking people that, you know, you look up to or have a stronger following, but have a similar sound or similar, you know, persuasion that you do, and just reaching out to their followers, you know, and building relationships. Not only will you get people liking your tracks, but look at you, man. You got somebody that you're just like blown away by. And hopefully this turns into a fruitful collaboration.
Yeah, man, exactly. And that's, you know, that's something very genuine that, you know, maybe a like or a shout out can't get you. And also something that I'd like to say is that Instagram is so milked out, if you know what I'm saying. To me, at least, it's so tight with the people that are trying to do a certain type of marketing on there. And it's annoying, to be honest with you. Like, it's annoying for me to do it. It's annoying for me to see it and watch it all the time. It's just, you know, there's no room on Instagram, really. I feel like you might blow up. I don't know, but it's just more stress than it is fruitful,
right?
Like you said, or bountiful.
Cool, man. Well, look, I look forward to hearing more of your music. So all my listeners, go check it out. We've heard a few tracks. And as I always say on my show, be sure to seek out these artists. So listen to Keynan stuff on SoundCloud. You know, I'll give him a shout out too for the Spotify. Might not be as much material, but I enjoyed some of those tracks. And YouTube as well. We're going to link to those down in the show notes.
Hey, man, I appreciate you so much. It was fun talking with you.
Yo, it's been great, man. Great to chat with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey. So I don't know about you guys, but that was a really fun interview. Kind of went into that one blindly because I had just recently heard Keynan's music. And like I said, saw him on social media talking a little bit about just being true to yourself, being authentic, and being happy with the day-to-day. It's really important, I think, to be aspirational, to set goals and to have dreams. But to this man's point, and he talked about it a lot, the real test and the real measure is, are you challenging yourself to be the best version of yourself? Are you happy in the moment with what you are doing? And, just striving for excellence and being okay with the result because you know you gave it your all. So for me, this interview with Keynan really represented a lot of those types of thoughts, types of ideas. And I hope that this interview inspired you to take, just your best step forward to make sure that you are dedicated to creating your best self. Some of the tactics that Keynan takes may not be right for you, but I will say some of them are thought-provoking, right? when it comes to just how you eat? Is that something that you need to focus on so that you make sure your physical body, which informs your mind? I think it goes both ways, body and mind connection, mind-body connection. Hey, chicken or the egg, which one started first, right? Make sure that you're eating properly, that you're getting the right sleep, because that is going to help you on your creative journey and just day to day, right? I also want to say, his idea of taking a social media hiatus is powerful, right? There is sometimes so much noise out there that you've just got to shut it off for a little bit and do a detox, so to say. I have been a little bit missing in January myself from my own social media. I'm going to be honest, it wasn't a complete fast or a complete, vacation from social media. But I will tell you that it refreshed me a lot and allowed me to focus on the things that I want to do day to day. And a lot of that has to do with self-reflection and daily goal setting, right? Keynan talked a lot about his tactics. One that I just want to share with you is our vision board. So go back a few episodes. You will see the title vision board in the actual title for that podcast episode. Check that one out and make sure that you have a vision board here in 2020. Another practice that I want to put out there, I actually heard that Ty Lopez does the same thing. Now, I didn't get it from him, but that's cool. Every morning before I get going, right? I might jump in the shower, I might brush my teeth, but I try not to get too far into my day without sitting down and actually doing a little bit of journaling. No joke. If I am running a little bit late, you will actually see me with a physical notebook at the gym, okay? In between sets, I'm making sure that I fit this practice in. Inside of that journaling practice, what I do is I write down 2 to 3 things that I'm super grateful for. I write down some goals for the day so that I make sure that I stay focused, just like I must do these things is really critical for next steps. I actually write out every single hour of my day. I make a little graph. So, I usually start around 5 or 6 a.m. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I list it all out and create a box next to it. So it's a graph. And what I make sure I do is I plan out a general guideline for what I'm doing with every hour of my day. I got to make sure that my aspirations are not too far out there and that I actually will be able to achieve this. Sometimes I find, not everything fits. So that's when some prioritization has to come in and something's got to get the cut. So those are just a little bit of practices that I wanted to share with you. And in addition to what Keynan shared in this interview, and I hope that this podcast helps you on your day-to-day life as a musician, as an artist, and just as a human being. Let's grow together and let's go together. Let's check out this last track and I'll see y'all next week.